Kia ora, good evening. I'm Hannah Wilkins. Fire and emergency services were rushed to a South Dunedin property last week after neighbouring residents reported the building going up in flames. The house was in the process of being demolished after being gutted by a similar blaze in April last year, an incident which killed one man.
Waking up to the sounds of sirens wailing. Phillip Street residents may have been expecting to see snow outside their windows on Friday morning, but instead witnessed an out-of-control fire at this building, believed to be a boarding house. This video taken by a neighbour shows the property steadily burning to the ground, with flames starting to spread to nearby houses. The fire was well ablaze when fire and emergency crews arrived shortly after 6:30 a.m, after receiving multiple calls.
We did have some difficulties with getting water. This is a notoriously bad area for water, but once we've got enough people here on the fire ground, we're able to get that sorted.
Builders who have been working at the property told fire crews up to 5 homeless people had been staying there at times. Police are still investigating that situation and working with Finns to establish whether anyone may have been in the house when the fire began.
We still have an unknown number of people that have not been accounted for.
Finns crews worked hard to get the fire in Kensington under control, with the blaze only causing damage to a small number of neighbouring properties. Some roads remained closed this morning while work continued. A police drone will be used to assist investigators, with the cause of the fire yet to be determined. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A large crowd turned up to say their final goodbyes to aviation legend Sir Tim Wallis over the weekend in Wanaka, with many pilots taking to the skies for a flyover to honour his legacy.
A fitting send-off for a Kiwi aviation icon. A large crowd of family, friends and colleagues gathered at Wanaka Airport on Saturday to mourn the loss of prominent southern businessman Sir Tim Wallis. He died in his hometown earlier this month, aged 85. Around 2,000 people filled the Alpine Helicopters hangar for the funeral service, many more paying their respects through a live stream online. Sir Tim's 8 grandchildren were tasked with carrying his casket to the venue, with his family and friends taking to the stage to share some fond memories in their eulogies. The founder of the popular Warbirds of a Wanaka Airshow was also a major figure in the establishment of New Zealand's venison industry, and was a director of more than 24 companies. Members of the Royal New Zealand Air Force performed an aerial, followed by more than 20 helicopters, which made several circuits of the Wanaka airfield. Sir Tim's coffin was loaded into one of the helicopters and taken away, joining the fleet in the skies for one final flight above his hometown. In Wanaka, the South Today.
Emotions were running high in a Dunedin City Council meeting earlier this week as accusations of racism were thrown around by councillors.
Tensions flared as Dunedin City Councillor Lee Vandervis voiced his concerns in Tuesday's meeting about a draft submission regarding emergency management law. Vandervis argued it was disproportionately focused on Māori inclusion and co-governance. This sparked a heated exchange between himself and Councillor Marie Laufiso, who accused Vandervis of racism. He requested that a comment be formally recorded in the meeting minutes, also throwing back some allegations of his own.
Councillor Laufiso has, in a recent meeting, referred to me as male, stale, pale, which is racist, sexist and ageist.
Dunedin Mayor Jules Radich tried to maintain order, refusing to accept any inflammatory adjectives from either of them. However, Laufiso didn't agree with the way the mayor was ruling the exchange.
I'm going to argue that this. You didn't uphold the point of order to begin with.
Look, you're not going to argue with it. I am opposing
because it was blatant racism.
Radich eventually upheld Vandervis's point of order, so Laufiso withdrew her comment, allowing the meeting to continue. Vandervis was the only councillor who didn't approve the council's draft submission. The Dunedin City Council voted in favour of supporting iwi and Māori organisations, ensuring they would be reimbursed for welfare costs incurred during emergencies. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Two of Christchurch's biggest construction projects are getting a lot of attention, but are at very different stages of completion. The new sports stadium is on track and under budget, but the city's recreation and sports centre has been further delayed and needs more money after a massive budget blowout.
Construction of Canterbury's $683 million Te Kaha Stadium is continuing at full steam. Project Director Mark Noonan updated City Councillors this week at the Finance and Performance Committee meeting. He says Te Kaha remains on budget and is on schedule for its planned opening in mid-2026.
The detailed design's almost completed, so they are progressively working through from the developed design.
A major consent application has just been lodged for a fixed roof, which would be made of light transmitting material over both the stands and the pitch. It's believed the multi-use facility would be just the second fully roofed stadia in the world to feature a natural grass playing field after Dunedin's Forsyth Bar Stadium. And he told councillors the risk-sharing model, agreed with construction company Bessex Watpac, has worked out well.
We thought we'd potentially have quite a bit of dewatering to be done. It wasn't as bad as we thought. Same with contamination, we shared that risk, and it's certainly better than we thought. So overall, we're very happy with where the risk is sitting against our projections.
But there are more turbulent waters ahead for Christchurch's troubled Parakiori Recreation and Sports Centre after a massive budget blowout. But a dispute over escalating costs is threatening to stall the project. Contractors say they need more time and an extra $439 million to complete Parakiori. The giant centre is more than 70% complete, but residents may now have to wait until at least mid-2025 to get access to the new facilities. In Christchurch, the South today.
A popular cafe is set to continue on its legacy in Dunedin's food scene as new owners take the helm. Greg Hay and Andy Brinsley have taken on the business together in an effort to preserve something they hold so dear to their heart.
Preparing their famous seafood dishes, Dunedin's best cafe has a new lease on life, but it's still business as usual. The nearly century-old restaurant holds a special place in Greg Hay and Andy Brinsley's hearts, who are both frequent customers in their student days. However, they made their way to the other side of the counter and are now the proud owners. They recently bought the business from outgoing owner Jessica Marks in the hope of continuing to serve the popular fresh seafood the same way they love it.
It was just a very coincidental conversation I was having with a colleague over dinner, and I love that business. And I said, well, I've doubled the figures for it, the lease, and he said, why don't we do it together? So here we are.
Marks had been running the cafe since 2017, continuing the legacy of a great-grandfather who started the business in 1932 and ran it for around 50 years. Hay and Brinsley are determined to preserve the restaurant's reputation, which has seen a number of happy customers walking through the doors over its 91 years of business.
There's always a really interesting cross-section of people that feel very comfortable about coming here, and it was very memorable for me.
The family ties made it tough for Marks to part ways with the business, but believes the best cafe is in safe hands with its new enthusiastic owners. In Dunedin, the South today.
Whaiakane still to come on Southern Newsweek. It was a big weekend for New Zealand rugby, with the Black Ferns in Dunedin for the first time in over 2 decades. And a new Monopoly edition is hitting the shelves, the board game taking inspiration from New Zealand's Garden City. Tēnā koe, welcome back. It was a massive weekend for international rugby, with 2 big competitions happening on opposite sides of the world. The All Blacks prepared to take on South Africa in the Rugby World Cup final in France, while the Black Ferns also took to the field a little closer to home.
Practicing their catch and pass drills as players get ready for a big rugby match. The Black Ferns arrived in Dunedin this week, getting in some training at Logan Park ground ahead of their clash with Wales on Saturday. It's the second week of the WXV1 series. New Zealand's hosting the inaugural competition, which is described as a new chapter for top-level women's international rugby.
We haven't in the past been able to play a lot of test matches, and this just shows, I guess, where we're at as a team, and it helps kind of shape us to, have, it just gives us a good idea on where we need to work in certain areas.
Midfielder and former Otago Spirit player Amy Duplessis is looking forward to being back at her old stomping ground. The Black Ferns haven't played in Dunedin for 26 years.
It's the first time the Black Ferns have played here in a long, long time, and under Forsyth Bar. So, to be able to come down here and show the different fan base what we have is awesome.
And the round-robin match against Wales isn't the only thing on their minds. The All Blacks are set to take on South Africa in the Rugby World Cup final on Sunday. The Black Ferns joining other fans across the country in backing the boys.
Far out, All Blacks have been massively inspiring, and what they've been through the last few years, and for them to really step up when it matters. So, All Blacks.
Dunedin's WXV matches kick off on Friday night, with Canada taking on England at Forsyth Bar Stadium, ahead of the Black Ferns versus Wales match on Saturday night. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Christchurch has joined the ranks of other parts of New Zealand to get its own regional version of a popular board game. The Mr. Monopoly character jumped off a Central City tram on Wednesday to fanfare as he unveiled the Garden City's very own Monopoly board.
The city of Christchurch passed go on Wednesday morning as residents celebrated the launch of its very own Canterbury-themed board. The Christchurch edition of Monopoly features well-known landmarks like the Avon River, the Court Theatre and Arana Wildlife Park. The prime dark blue spots, usually held by Mayfair and Park Lane, went to the Cathedral and Hagley Park. Christchurch is the fifth New Zealand location over the years to get its own regional Monopoly board.
It's one of New Zealand's biggest cities. It's got a really vibrant culture, and we also think it's got a really strong community and has been super resilient in the last decade with everything it's been through. So we thought, why not bring something positive to Christchurch?
The regional Monopoly sets are manufactured and distributed by Sydney-based company Winning Moves, under licence from American toy giant Hasbro. Cantabrians got to vote earlier this year on which city landmarks they wanted to see included in their game.
We get locals to say what they want on the board, we talk to the council, we talk to tourism boards, we talk to businesses.
And while most of the spots will be familiar to residents, one or two may be a surprise, and you won't see any Christchurch streets featured on the board.
Instead, we do iconic locations, attractions, education spots, hospitality. We try and showcase the best of Christchurch, and we want it to be an addition both that locals are proud of, but that tourists can pick up and kind of see all the hot spots.
And while the local aspect may make the game feel more homely, the rules haven't changed, ensuring Monopoly remains a challenging and frustrating game for many players. The new edition's already in stores at a retail price of around $70. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Many homemade vehicles were zooming through South Canterbury recently as local residents were treated to some family fun action. Carnage and chaos took over the streets of Timaru as the Alpine Energy Soapbox Derby returned to its roots for the first time in more than 4 decades.
It looks like Evel Knievel has made his way to Timaru, but on a much smaller scale. More than 1,000 locals were out in the blue skies and sunshine on Sunday, which were the perfect conditions to enjoy the 43rd Alpine Energy Soapbox Derby. The racing spectacle encourages local businesses and keen enthusiasts to build the fastest race cart, pushing it to the absolute limits by hurtling down this obstacle course.
So these events that especially get people out and about and brings people to the region is fantastic.
The annual race is a staple event in Timaru, the 2023 course returning to the original Stafford Street location for the first time since the 1980s. The rapid descent sees racers dodging hay bales and catching air before coming to a halt on George Street, providing a chaotic but enjoyable spectacle for the crowd.
Yeah, I'm happy with the turnout, especially with the crowd. It's been a really, really good turnout. With the entries, we can always have more, but the less entries, the more runs each cart gets. As we've found in this event this year, that some carts are only getting a couple because their tyres are popping.
Alpine Energy was the sponsor of this year's Soapbox Derby, with all money raised from the event going towards mental health organisations in South Canterbury. In Timaru, the South Today.
Southlanders were treated to an impressive showcase of precision and unity over the weekend as a number of talented female marching bands took centre stage. Performers from across the South Island journeyed to Gore for this year's leisure marching event.
Ladies donned in vibrant coordinated uniforms, marching to some familiar theme tunes. This year's South Island leisure marching event got underway at the Gore MLT Multi-Sports Complex on Saturday. Teams from around the regions showcasing their 5-minute routines. A large crowd of supporters watched the 28 teams marching to the beat, with around 300 female marchers performing across the day, grateful to be inside.
Thank goodness we've got this amazing facility. We can be indoors, out of the weather. It's a bit cold, but you get moving and you don't feel the cold. It's been great.
She says the teams had put in a lot of practice leading up to the event, polishing up their marching techniques and routines. Organiser Julie Chisholm marches for the host team, Gore Golden Cavaliers, and was happy with the turnout and performances from visiting teams.
There's no judging, but we just critique the heck out of each other, and we know when we've done well and when we haven't, and it's all, we do it because we enjoy it.
And she's hoping some of the spectators in Gore might be inspired to take up the activity, encouraging more women into leisure marching. In Gore, the South Today.
A major historical find has been unearthed at Arrowtown's Chinese village. A team of archaeologists and rangers have been painstakingly uncovering excavations from around the historic site and had some surprising discoveries.
Uncovering some intriguing Arrowtown history that was almost lost to time. This group of archaeologists are re-excavating a number of old Chinese miners' huts in the central Otago town. Some curious school children assisted the group of 5 as they spent a week uncovering the stone hut floors in the former mining settlement. They had originally been unearthed in 1983, but were filled in again by natural causes and visitors.
So over those years, some of the sites that were excavated, they've just infilled over the years, and just through natural processes, but also some visitor, walking over things and all that, it's done a little bit of damage.
The huts were originally built in the late 1800s by Chinese settlers who arrived in Arrowtown to work during the gold mining boom. Senior Heritage Advisor Michael Schmidt says the team are working with 40-year-old photos from the original excavation in an effort to uncover the exact same area before they carry out further excavation work.
And then leave it at that, because those excavations relate to the research that was done on them. So when people come here and they hear the story, they can actually see the site that was done 40 years ago.
After removing a tree that had grown through one of the sites, the team discovered an old axe head, cleaver and lead ingots, which Schmidt believes were used by a rabbiter to melt down and make gun pellets. The team planned to install protective barriers around the stone floors to allow interested visitors to view the heritage sites while still protecting them from further damage. In Arrowtown, the South Today.
Whaiakene, still to come on Southern Newsweek. South Otago welcomes hundreds of mud-loving motorbike riders for an annual trail ride. And Queenstown lights up for a colourful Indian celebration. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Otago University has officially opened its most modern college facility. Te Rangihiroa College is just 5 minutes walk from campus and features a large dining room, social lounge, study spaces, along with media and music rooms.
The new Te Rangihiroa Residential College welcomed invited guests for an exclusive look at the state-of-the-art facilities on Friday. It's the first new purpose-built residential college for Otago University in more than 50 years. The $100 million hall at the corner of Albany and 4th Streets features 4 wings, each made up of 7 floors, including 5 for accommodation.
We've just come from the main entrance there with the reception area and then come down the learning corridor into the tutorial space.
The college is named after Otago alumnus Te Rangihiroa, also known as Sir Peter Buck, who was the first Māori medical graduate from a New Zealand university. More than 100 Ngati Mutunga descendants travelled from Taranaki to attend the opening ceremony. Cultural Māori design elements have been weaved throughout the building, while maintaining its key focus of meeting the needs of students.
It's more than just a bed, it's a home away from home, it's about learning, it's about social elements, it's about growing as a young person.
The original Te Rangihiroa College on Castle Street has been renamed Castle College. It's likely to be demolished in the future as part of the new hospital build. The new Te Rangihiroa College will officially open its doors early next year, welcoming around 450 first-year students from across the country. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Keen motorbike riders made their way to South Otago over the weekend, flicking up mud left, right and centre through forestry and farmland. The annual Lake to the Sea trail ride attracted hundreds to Melbourne, bringing the community together to fundraise for some local youngsters.
Riders roaring into the forest as they head off on the Lake to Sea motorbike trail. The ride was held for its 20th year on Saturday, more than 700 motorcyclists taking on the 140-kilometre trail from Melbourne to the Toko river mouth. People came from as far as Christchurch to take part in the trail ride, with all funds raised from the event going to Toko Mariro High School.
For the benefit of our children, and it's a great community-based organisation where everybody comes and gives a hand. I love it.
Organiser Brian Griffin says the annual event gets a fire going in him, and he enjoys watching riders of all ages have a great time driving the trail. He also loves the community aspect of the day, with volunteers coming together to help him get the event up and running.
I love seeing motorcyclists having a good time. I love seeing the community come together to help us, and I love seeing the kids have a good time as well.
Griffin received the Paul Harris Fellowship Award for his efforts in hosting the event. Despite this, he's hoping to pass on the torch in the future to let someone else run the ride, although reckons he's keen to continue for at least one more year. In Melbourne, the South Today.
India's biggest and most important holiday of the year was celebrated in central Otago last weekend. More than 1,500 people celebrated the Queenstown Diwali festival, with the event centre shining in vibrant colours.
Dazzling lights and performers showing off their skills as the 7th annual Diwali festival gets underway at the Queenstown Event Centre. Saturday's event saw around 1,500 people from across the country attend and participate in the Indian celebration, alongside enjoying a plate full of traditional food. Performers of all ages and cultures were up on stage showing off their moves, with a mix of unique song and dance from a variety of countries around the globe. This year saw New Zealand's first sustainable Diwali celebration, with food and drink served on paper dishes and people asked to bring their own containers for take-home doggy bags. Diwali is India's largest annual celebration and is seen as the winning of light over dark and good over evil. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Two central Otago libraries were the scene of some mischief and mayhem last weekend as a gathering of local soft toys got up to some fun. The Great Teddy Sleepover saw young owners dropping off beloved toys of all shapes and sizes to spend a night in the library, but it seems there was little time for sleep.
All tucked in with their friends and ready for a night among the books. Cromwell and Alexandra Libraries welcomed an influx of fluffy visitors on Friday for the Great Teddy Sleepover. Local children were encouraged to drop off their special furry friends to the libraries and leave them there for the night. The soft toys including teddy bears, unicorns and a pirate.
They'll read, they might play jigsaw, they might play with the musical instruments, so we've got some of musical instruments, so they may have a little bit of song time as well.
To help with being apart from their friends, the children were kept updated about the overnight shenanigans of their toys, with library staff posting live teddy cams on their Facebook page. The toys competed in sack racing around the bookshelves and trying their hand at librarian duties, with Constable Ted trying to keep the group in line.
Jemima stayed in bed and I can't see her.
Did they stay at the library last night?
Yeah, and I can't see Jemima.
Their young human owners were happy to pick them up again on Saturday morning, welcoming back their teddies with big hugs and some morning tea. In Alexandra, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube and the South Today NZ on Facebook to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again next week. Mā te wā.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.